International leaders arrived in Moscow, Russia to participate in the commemorative events of the 80th anniversary of the Soviet Union's victory over Nazism in World War II. In South Asia, mutual attacks are reported between India and Pakistan after the Indian Armed Forces fired missiles at 9 suspected terrorist facilities in the town of Jammu and the disputed region of Kashmir. And a group of 620 lawyers from Chile represented a new complaint against Israel to the International Criminal Court and other bodies for charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro arrived in Moscow, Russia to participate in the commemorative acts of the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Soviet Union over Nazism in the World War II. President Nicolás Maduro heads a delegation that will commemorate the heroic deeds of the Red Army during the Great Patriotic War. Foreign leaders and envoys from 29 countries will attend Russia's Victory Day parade later this week in Moscow. International guests are also expected to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. This year's historic celebrations will include a traditional military parade in the Red Square. The presidents of China, Brazil, Venezuela, Serbia, Egypt and Slovakia will be among the leaders attending. Moreover, military units from 13 countries will participate in the Victory Day parade.
Well, we come to bring the always firm, brave and supportive greetings of the Venezuelan people, from the spiritual strength of Simon Bolivar, of Hugo Chavez, our supreme commander, and of a people that is fighting the battle, also, in the 21st century, against Nazi fascism, against imperialism, that is the people of Venezuela, the victorious battle. We come to commemorate, with much sensitivity and much historical conscience, the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Great Patriotic War.
After his arrival in Russia, the Venezuelan president stressed that 27 million human beings from the Red Army of the Soviet Union died to liberate Europe and the world from Nazi fascism.
On April 30th, we were commemorating the taking of Berlin, and now we come to commemorate the surrender of the criminal Nazi German army to the Red Army of the Soviet Union. 27 million human beings from the Soviet Union struggled, resisted, in Moscow, in Stalingrad, in Leningrad, and then millions of men and women arrived to Berlin to liberate Europe in the first place, and Europe has to thank the Red Army and the Soviet Union because they liberated them from Nazi fascism.
The president of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, arrived in Moscow this Tuesday to participate in the events commemorating the Russian victory over Nazism in World War II. The Cuban president was received by the Russian authorities after his first stop in the city of St. Petersburg, where he honored the memory of the 1,000 heroes and martyrs of the siege of Leningrad. The head of state is leading the delegation that will commemorate the heroic deeds of the Red Army against Nazism during the Great Patriotic War. For this, on May 9th, the Russian Federation will hold a military parade for the victory in which leaders from countries such as China, Brazil and Venezuela will take part. In Santiago de Chile, a meeting was held on the occasion of the 80th anniversary of the Soviet victory against Nazism. The conference was organized by the National Federation of Associations of Officials of the University of Chile and was attended by the Russian ambassador to Chile, Vladimir Belinsky. They gathered at the Central House of the university and reviewed the historic events where the heroic deeds of the Soviet Union saved the world from Nazism. The Russian ambassador recalled that to defeat the German barbarians, the Soviet Union mobilized all the forces of the country. In detail, the meeting recalled historical battles such as those of Moscow, Leningrad, today known as St. Petersburg, Stalingrad, Kursk and Smolensk. The Great War lasted 4 years and cost the lives of 27 million Soviets.
We cannot commemorate these 80 years without honoring the leading role of the Soviet Union. Especially when in the irrationality and political cretinism in which the venerable Western Europe debates today. It has been pretended to celebrate this victory without the presence of those who achieved it.
There are only a few hours left for the 133 cardinals who will elect Pope Francis' successor to enter the conclave. Strong security measures are in place throughout the city and especially in the Sistine Chapel. The World Conclave comes from the Latin conclave, which means under lock and key, and that is how the members of the College of Cardinals will be from 4:30 p.m. local time on Wednesday. 133 cardinals from 71 countries will elect the 267th Pope of the Catholic Church that gathers more than 1.36 billion faithful. The strict security measures that must now deal with the technological challenges order the activation of cell phones starting at 3 p.m. local time. Signal jammers will also be activated in all areas surrounding the Sistine Chapel. In the Pauline Chapel in Vatican City, clergy and laity took an oath of secrecy in preparation for the conclave that will elect the new pope. According to the University Dominici Gregis, reflected in the Constitution, the Camerlengo and the 3 cardinal assistants have approved the observation of the officials on everything that directly or indirectly concerns the voting and the scrutiny for the election of the Supreme Pontiff. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back, stay with us.
Millones se forjan nuevos caminos con la esperanza de un futuro mejor. Cruzan líneas imaginarias hacia lo desconocido. Conozcamos las historias de quienes viven entre fronteras. Todos los jueves, solo por teleSUR.
Welcome back to From the South. Ecuador's electoral court filed a challenge against the results of the April 13th presidential runoff elections submitted by the leftist Citizens' Revolution Retro Coalition. Judge Yvonne Coloma sentenced the case to be closed, accepting the request of attorney Francisco Estarellas after the National Electoral Council rejected the request to review at least 13,000 tally sheets with presumed inconsistencies. It should be noted that the Citizens' Revolution Retro Coalition challenged more than 28,000 tally sheets, alleging numeral inconsistencies and lack of joint signatures in the sheets. Meanwhile, the Citizens' Revolution Alliance and Reto de Ecuador continues its legal fight to challenge the results, requesting the Electoral Court to open the ballot boxes due to the allegations of fraud. Panamanian workers are entering the third week of strike against the policies of President José Raúl Mulino. In addition, unions from different sectors are joining the actions in rejection of the law that seeks to reform the Social Security Fund. The Union of Construction and Similar Workers, Sontrax, warned that the demonstrations in defense of social security will continue until the executive eliminates the norm. In this sense, the collective called on the different sectors to continue the strike at the national level despite the threats of repression by the authorities. Simultaneously, thousands of students of the University of Panama have been mobilizing since the morning, together with professors, graduates, and administrative staff, demanding that the Molino government respect university autonomy and national sovereignty. In addition, the university community expressed its rejection of the Memorandum of Understanding signed with the United States, considering it a document that threatens national independence. In Argentina, a new transport strike is taking place after the national government rejected the salary proposal of the transport union Transviarios Automotor. According to the union, the pressure measure went into effect this Tuesday and will last 24 hours in all the provinces of the country. In this context, the organization warned that if an agreement with the national government is not reached, the strike could last indefinitely. So far, dozens of transportation companies have suspended their services, which affects more than 50 million users throughout the country. In other news, Salvadoran police officers have arrested the heads of 5 bus companies for allegedly failing to comply with President Nayib Bukele's transportation decree. The presidential decree, which stipulated free public transportation service from May 5th to 11th, was ordered to compensate for the closure of the Los Chorros section of the Pan American Highway, which the Ministry of Public Works hasn't been able to solve. In this context, authorities unfolded the detainees, among them the chair of the National Transportation Board, Alex Sorto, would be charged with offences such as breach of duty, refusal of assistance and extortion.
We recognize that we must provide a service, and we have not stopped providing it. We have shown, colleagues, how the 205 bus route has not stopped providing the service. Since the onset of this whole problem of Los Chorros traffic, we have not stopped providing the service. Bus routes, as 205 and 212 have been working. When authorities announced it yesterday, unfortunately, we were in a race against the clock. Indeed, it took us by surprise, especially when in the morning, we had meetings with governmental officials, and they had not mentioned this level of logistics was going to be carried out for today.
A report by United States intelligence agencies confirmed the lack of links between the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, and the extinct criminal group Tren de Aragua. The document concluded that there is no evidence to prove that the Venezuelan president is associated with the organization. The announcement further denies these claims stated by U.S. President Donald Trump against his Venezuelan counterpart. Precisely since his return to the White House in January, Trump has promoted a narrative in which the extinct Tren de Aragua, under the alleged support of the Venezuelan government, constituted a threat to national security. These arguments have been used by Washington to accelerate the deportations of Venezuelan migrants in what constitutes a violation of human rights. On Monday, heavy rains caused a significant increase in the flow of the Dajabon River located along the Haitian and Dominican border, prompting alerts for residents of its surrounding areas. In this regard, no significant damage has been reported so far, but the constant rain and strong gusts of wind, which have left several areas without electricity, are keeping the community on alert. In this context, authorities on both sides of the border have set up a permanent monitoring system and are advising people to pay the utmost attention to the changes in the river and to take the necessary precautions, especially in the most vulnerable areas. We have a second show break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final show break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to From the South. In South Asia, mutual attacks are reported between India and Pakistan after the Indian Armed Forces fired missiles at 9 suspected terrorist facilities in the town of Jammu and the disputed region of Kashmir. The Indian Ministry of Defense announced that its country carried out several attacks against presumed terrorist installations in Pakistani territory as part of the beginning of the so-called Operation Sindoor, aimed at eliminating this type of infrastructure. The agency specified that the offensive targeted facilities where attacks against India have been planned and perpetrated. It also stated that the Operation Sindoor comes after the terrorist attack in the Indian town of Pahalgam, where 25 Indian citizens and 1 Nepalese were killed, pointing out that they are fulfilling their commitment to defend the nation. In the aftermath, Pakistan launched a missile strike in response against Indian territory. A group of 620 lawyers from Chile presented a new complaint against Israel to the International Criminal Court and other bodies for charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity. The multiple action is in addition to other denunciations already made by the group of lawyers, where they previously obtained an arrest warrant against the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This lawsuit follows the attack of the Zionist troops against a humanitarian flotilla with a Maltese flag, which was carrying necessary supplies to the Gaza Strip. The complaint also seeks to ensure humanitarian access to the enclave.
The Israeli army attempts to attack this fleet to prevent humanitarian aid access to Gaza, which is why, together with the lawyers Rodolfo Marconi, Juan Carlos Manriquez, Nelson Haddad, and myself, on behalf of the 620 Chilean lawyers, we have filed an action once again before the International Criminal Court to hold international crimes accountable and finally seek alternatives that will allow humanitarian aid to finally reach Gaza.
But what worries and hurts us most is the silence of the international community, which, seeing this genocide being perpetrated day by day for the past 18 months in Gaza, maintains a complicit silence that challenges the moral conscience of humanity.
Hundreds of Israeli protesters were on a picket line in front of the Knesset in rejection of the governmental plan of action to widen the conflict in Gaza. Local police escorted the picketers who opposed Monday's announcement that authorized colonial occupation forces to go on their offensive against the Gaza Strip. Israeli demonstrators accused the Netanyahu administration of prioritizing war escalation over a deal with Hamas Palestinian movement. They further condemned their prime minister's inaction to bring home the 59 Israelis that remain detained. Overall, the Zionist regime has rejected and broken all chances of a detained swap and ceasefire deal. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, announced the end of the offensive against the Houthis in Yemen. The U.S. president indicated that the Yemeni group had capitulated after promising to end its attacks in the Red Sea. These statements come after the Israeli army attacked the capital city of Sana'a in retaliation for the same attack near the Tel Aviv airport. Since his arrival in Washington, Donald Trump has intensified the military campaign initiated by Joe Biden in an attempt to put an end to the Houthi attacks against military and commercial vessels in the Red Sea. A soldier was killed in a clash with suspected terrorists after heavy gunfire in northwestern Pakistan on Monday. The Pakistan Army Information Office said that the 40-year-old soldier, whose identity was not disclosed, died after the clash that occurred in the middle of an anti-terrorist operation in the South Waziristan district. According to the military dispatch, a total of 4 operations were carried out in the northeastern part of the country amid an upsurge in fighting between Pakistani forces and the resistance, leaving a total of 8 suspected terrorists neutralized in addition to the soldier's death. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.